Welcome to your December 21st winter solstice astrology forecast. This marks the beginning of winter and is the still point where darkness is the deepest. However, the sun does start its return after the winter solstice, so we have that to look forward to. The winter itself is a season of reflection, rebirth, and setting intentions that last through the Capricorn season as well as through to the spring equinox, but it also, since this is when the sun is at its darkest, it's basically beginning its new solar cycle for the entire new year. So this is part of the reason why this is a great time to set your intentions for the new year, to, go in and see what seeds you want to plant for the new year. It's not necessarily a time to start acting on those seeds. It's just a time to start figuring out what you want to plant. And then the planting season really comes in March. That's when we become more action oriented. The winter solstice and the winter season is more a time of reflection and inner growth and kind of setting those intentions and working through. It's like the planning phase, right? And it's kind of like a cosmic reset button, bringing the themes kind of inward, right? Winter is like an inward feeling season and focusing on what you want to build in the future, and a time to review last year and what you were able to accomplish last year, what went right, what went wrong, and to plan, like connecting the past year's experiences into your goals for the next year or cycle ahead. It's also, as it is the longest dark night of the year, when the sun is at its shortest peak, it's a time to kind of honor endings and to bring hope to new beginnings as the sun starts to return. This is a perfect time and a perfect season to do some shadow work, to pause, to restore, to rest. A lot of times this is a very busy time of year, and that is kind of unfortunate because it is a time when our body, our natural rhythm, wants to, it's cold. We want to be more inside and rest more and be more reflective. So take advantage of that in all the little ways that you can to make the most of working with the cycles of the season and the cycles of your own body. Some rituals you can do today that are common are burning Yule logs or candles to honor the return of the sun and to help releasing what's old too. So this can be a good time to do some releasing rituals of writing down those dark things or whatever it is that you want to let go of and burning them in a candle or a fireplace or something like that, as well as a good time to dream and vision for the year ahead, to do a little bit of both. You don't have to do it all on this day, as this is a whole season. The energy is certainly more potent on this day, but as we'll talk about when we look at the astrology chart in just a minute, the winter solstice does set up really the whole next year, but as well as the whole next season. So the next 3 months, today's astrology chart, the winter solstice astrology chart kind of sets up the energy for the next 3 months. So I'll kind of guide you about, what this is saying we need to focus on collectively as a whole. And then I'll briefly go through the 12 signs to show what maybe you what cosmically is aligned for you to work with, but also this is just tapping in and tuning in, regardless of the astrology, to the things you know you need to let go, the things you know you're dreaming of for the year ahead, and kind of working with both of those thoughts and both of those energies at this time. Before we get into it, just a quick little introduction. Hi, I'm Sarah at Life with Training Wheels, where I use astrology, tarot, all sorts meditation, all sorts of spiritual tools to help guide you on a path of self-discovery, to help guide you to learn to let go of any victim mentality, reclaim your sovereignty, and really just see the brighter side of life. I think that in any situation, there's always a lesson and a silver lining to be found in it. And my goal is to help you see things the same way. It is a beautiful way to live. God is always working things in our favor. And I like to help bring awareness to that so that we can individually and collectively start to reclaim our sovereignty, live in our highest and best truth. And if that's something that sounds like it fits for you, then please stay around. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for joining me. If you're returning, thank you so much for returning. If you can give this video a like, a comment, a subscribe, engage with it in any way that you can, it does help my small channel grow, and it is greatly appreciated. Okay, now let's go ahead and get into the astrology chart of this year's winter solstice. Okay, so we'll structure this kind of the same way I structure my new moon and full moon videos. We'll start by talking about what marks the winter solstice in astrology, and then start looking at the conversations that the chart is having and asking for us, the energies that it's asking for us to explore. So what marks the winter solstice is when the sun moves into Capricorn. The winter solstice is the beginning of Capricorn season, and therefore when the sun moves into Capricorn, that is the winter solstice. We see here that this is happening at 8:13 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, but as always, adjust to whatever your location on the planet is. So similar to the new moon that we had just 2 days ago, this sun is still conjunct Venus. It's out of sign now. Venus is still in Sagittarius while the sun has moved on to Capricorn, and it is now in sign conjunct Mars in Capricorn. So first, let's talk a little bit about the sun in Capricorn. So the sun in Capricorn is a sign of like hard work, and not hard necessarily in like you have to hate what you're doing or anything like that, but it's just where we put in the groundwork for the things that we're trying to accomplish, right? It is where we are steady and focused and determined and kind of have this like cadence, right? We keep moving forward at a steady pace. We keep putting in the groundwork, laying the foundation for the things that we want to build and the things that we want to accomplish. It is where we have the forward momentum. Like Virgo is kind of the planning and the things like that. The Capricorn is the putting things into action to, it's got the mountain goat, right? So it does signify hard work. Like if you need to scale a mountain in order to make your goal happen, right? Climbing a 14er isn't easy, but once you get to the top, it's like, man, I climbed this mountain. That's the kind of hard work I'm talking about. Not necessarily the hard work that you hate, but like when you want to accomplish something big, when you want to do something, you have to put in the work, right? Faith without works is dead, right? We have to show the universe, show God, show ourselves that we're willing to do the work to get the things we want. We can't just expect things to land in our lap. And that is what the Capricorn energy is about. It's where you're willing to put in the effort. In your own personal chart, it may be a place where things require a little bit more effort for you. But it is where we build those foundations. So kind of on a personal level, wherever Capricorn falls for you in your chart and collectively as a whole is where we are going to be focused on building our foundations for the next month in particular, while it is Capricorn season, but also, for the planting of the seeds of the whole winter season as well as for the whole yearly season of planting the seeds and thinking about what do we want to accomplish for the whole year. So it is the energy not only marking Capricorn season, so this month, but also the energy marking the winter season, and kind of marking the entire next year in some capacity as well. But again, March and the beginning of spring is when the astrological new year begins, because spring is when we are done with this inner reflection, figuring out what needs to go, what needs to stay, how to integrate the lessons of last year's astrology, last year's season, how to integrate those into the beginning of the new year. So this is not necessarily the time, again, it's the resetting of the sun, but it's not the resetting of the astrological cycle when we really start to put these things into practice. It is the time of rest and reflection and things like that. So with the sun being and this season being conjunct Venus in Sagittarius, Venus is all about harmony and beauty and love, also about finances and values, our value system. And in Sagittarius is those bigger ideas, the bigger pictures, the bigger goals, the connection to our belief system, things like that. So it's really imbuing this Capricorn season, this winter season, with this love, this continuing to, as we close things out, continuing to have the big picture in mind and to imbue that big picture with a sense of love and community and beauty, and holding that idea for the future as we close out and start to plan what is coming ahead. And the Mars in Capricorn, as we discussed 2 days ago at the new moon, is really bringing, Mars is our warrior spirit, our willpower, our motivation, our drive, our ambition. And so it is really helping us to make the most of the season and to have the motivation and the willpower to make the plans, to put in the effort, to really figure out how to plant the seeds, to kind of, as we've been doing, tear down what needs to be doing, figuring out what we need to let go of, and figuring out what we need to do to move forward and to build the foundation that we need to build, and to start gathering the materials, either in our minds or in our physical existence, to plan and have the foundation for what we want in the future. So these 3 planets are also in a square still to Saturn and Neptune over here in Pisces. We are talking so much, and Saturn and Neptune in Pisces are getting so much attention from all the other planets, because this really is the pivotal moment in time that we are in, with the closing out of not just the past Neptune cycle, not just the past Saturn cycle, but really when you look at the history, which I'll be doing a separate video of kind of the the cycles that Neptune has had over, I have been looking into the cycles that it's had over the last couple thousand years. We're really closing out thousands of years worth of energy right now. It's really pretty amazing. And that's why this energy is moving so slow. Neptune has been at the 29th degree of Pisces for quite some time. This is a very potent energy that we're really being asked to work with individually and collectively about discovering all the places that we've been deceived and had the wool pulled over our eyes, and where the lies have been, and getting rid of those, getting rid of the systems and things. And in your own personal life, it's about getting rid of those subconscious patterns that we developed either through society or through the homes that we grew up in that are no longer serving us individually or collectively, right? So it's bringing those programs to our awareness so we can get rid of them and rebuild something new, something better, and tearing down, with Saturn tearing down the structures, right, in society, but in our own lives where we've built walls up, and replacing those with healthy boundaries. There's a difference between walls and boundaries, and we want to tear down the walls and recognize what a healthy boundary is. And I think in this, it's also working with us a lot individually and collectively on releasing any victim mentality. And so this square here is helping us do that, right? It's helping us keep focused on this energy here, saying, through the winter season, through the next of this year, we're going to continue with this tearing down and building up all at the same time. And so squares are tension points too, right? So like this square between Venus and Sagittarius and this energy, it's like, okay, well, how can I bring in love, compassion, beauty into the future that I want to create when everything looks so ugly right now, right? There's that tension. And then the sun is highlighting all the ways and bringing light to the darkness of all the ways that we have deceived ourselves through our subconscious programming, or have been deceived by those around us, whether it be our relationships or the institutions that we have believed in for so long. The sun is kind of shining a light on that, and the sun is our ego, right? Our ego feels a little bit bruised, knowing that we've been deceived, and like how can we let that happen, right? There's a lot of grief and a lot of like feeling hoodwinked, and that's not a good feeling. That there's a lot of tension in that feeling within our own bodies, and it's heavy, right? But it's shining a light on that and with Venus here, bringing compassion and love to ourselves. Like, it's okay. We're all kind of in this together. I get tired of that saying since 2020, but we are. So kind of shining a light on that. And then the Mars in Capricorn is bringing us that, like, I'm done with living the way that we have been living individually and collectively, and I want to make a change. And so I'm willing to put in the hard work. I'm willing to fight where I need to fight. I'm willing to do the hard things that are going to be required of me in order to let these things go, in order to deal with the discomfort, in order to build the things that need to be built, and make the stands that need to be stand. That is kind of what that tension is bringing. Mars in Capricorn is bringing that motivation, but it's also in the square bringing in the, like, this is something I'm willing to fight for, feeling, right? That challenge, that square, and being willing to stand. Mars is also kind of that sovereign energy, so being willing to stand in your sovereign being against, Capricorn is also structures like the governmental structures and things like that. So being willing, and Saturn represents it too, so being willing to battle against those things, and within your own self, battle against restrictions that are being put upon you that don't need to be there, that don't make any sense. But then also, having that internal battle of, why do I have these walls? They served me when I was a kid. I don't need to have them anymore. I can tear them down, and there's tension in that. But it's providing you this warrior spirit and this willpower to do what needs to be done. And then from there, so that's the only conversation that the sun and Capricorn is having. So then from there, we look to see who the ruler of Capricorn is and what it's doing. And the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn. So clearly we just talked a lot about that, but Saturn itself is also a part of this divine mini grand trine, right? So it is a part and the key, the focal point of this divine mini grand trine triangle. So it is key energy. It's what we're meant to be working with, and it is in a sextile to Uranus and Taurus, right? So Saturn is helping us, and Uranus is helping us break through, step out of the box, think out of the box, shake things up in our physical reality. Taurus is the earth, it's physical reality. It is our financial systems, our resources, whether that be food or gas, or it's the resources of the earth that is continuing to be shaken up while we close out all these cycles that have kept us down, right? So Uranus is shaking those things up, and although it might be uncomfortable, right, it is in this beautiful sextile and meant for our highest and best good. And then there's this sextile to Pluto in Aquarius, which is bringing the power back to the people, but also it represents the power struggle among the people, right? So not only do we see there's this big transformation, Pluto is transformation in the collective about us all sides, no matter what walk of life you are, getting tired of being fed lies by our governments and institutions and things like that, and being tired of being pit against each other. But there's still this big, Pluto is just at the beginning of Aquarius, so a lot of people are waking up to this and seeing how we're pit against each other, and a lot of us are seeing how we just need to learn to accept one another for who we are, to see each other for who we are, and love and accept each other, and realize Aquarius energy is kind of this breaking outside of the box. It's technology. It is, and there's a lot of transformation in our technology and things like that. And is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? There's a lot of power struggle, power dynamics going on with that, but as well as all this Pluto is power as well. It's deep transformation, but it also represents power struggles a little bit, and secrets and truth, discovering the truth. And so there's still a lot of that coming about, and transformation with technology and with thinking outside of the box and things like that. So there's still power struggles within the collective, but those those are being brought to light. Like I have said in previous videos, this mini grand trine, divine grand trine energy that we have is going to be with us until 2029. It's going to move, shift a little bit as these planets move into Aries and as Uranus moves into Gemini next year. So the flavor is going to be a little bit different. Right now we're on very much the closing out and tearing down. And then next year we'll get into the more rebuilding, which is very exciting. But right now we're kind of still in the destruction. And these, even though this is a sextile, it can still feel a little disruptive, but it is all meant for our highest and best good. More individually, Aquarius is wherever Aquarius lands for you, that's kind of where you naturally want to do things differently than other people or see things in a different way. It's where the area of life where you may be a little bit more unconventional. And so Pluto is really working with you over the next 20 years in that area on reforming things and transforming the way, even if you've already been out of the box, by the end of Pluto's cycle, you might be out of the box in a completely different way. It's transforming and refining and bringing, this is where you can bring technology into your world as well. So although, just the simple interaction of Uranus can be disruptive things can be uncomfortable, but all these things with these sextiles are overall good and should be felt as good. But since they are sextiles, they are energies that you need to consciously interact with, and that is why we are being brought these squares, and that there's been continual working with this energy. The other beautiful part of this is, besides these sextiles, is Saturn here in Pisces is experiencing a long trine from Jupiter in Cancer. And as we talked about at the new moon, Jupiter in Cancer, especially Jupiter retrograde, Jupiter is kind of wisdom, abundance, luck, growth. It expands. So we are really expanding. Jupiter retrograde brings the energy internal, but it still is expansive. And so it's bringing this expansive energy to really tearing things down, but also building things up at the same time. Doing all the Saturn work, helping us really work with the lessons that Saturn has been trying to teach us in whatever house Pisces falls in, and retrograde having us look, at opportunities that we may have missed and things like that. But on a more collective level, it's bringing us wisdom of our ancestors to the mix of this, tearing down and rebuilding structures, like having us look backwards to bring the wisdom from the ancient past into the future. And, how do we merge it? How do we make it apply to today's world, to today's technology, to today's everything? But to review that ancient wisdom, and to also review, Cancer is also our emotional safety and our home, and, review what has the world been doing to the home, and what we think of the home, and what we do in the home, and, family dynamics and things like that, as well as just looking in your, that's collectively, but also looking on an individual level. Like, how do you define home? How can you expand your home? What opportunities have you missed in your home, or what opportunities have you missed? This is also our emotional safety. What can you do? What wisdom can you bring in to create the emotional safety that you need? And with this Jupiter and Saturn, I really have been feeling into that a lot of this is teaching people how to become aware of where they have spiritual and emotional energetic leakages, right? And to teach us how to build up this emotional and spiritual barrier, like put on the armor of God, so that your emotions and stuff can't be touched by the things that are going on around you, because there is chaos around you. We need to see it, we need to address it, but you don't need to let it change your day. You don't need to let it suck your energy. You need to keep your vibration high and emit that energy and not get sucked into the fear programming of the world and things like that. So we need to learn these energetic boundaries. And I think that's a lot of what perhaps Jupiter trine Saturn is trying to teach us, how to build those healthy boundaries and expand them and become aware of our own emotional center and aware, the Jupiter internal energy, have this attitude for gratitude, and be aware of our own energy, be aware of our own blessings, so that the outside world can't disturb our knowingness that we are fine right in this moment, and that is important, that us being fine in this moment is a gift really to the collective as well. I'm not sure all that came out how I was thinking it in my head, but hopefully it makes sense. Comment below if you think I'm a crazy lady or if this is resonating with you and making some sense. So that is pretty much it for the overall astrology horoscope for the collective. Now I'll briefly get into how this might manifest for each rising sign, but if you want more help with this or anything like that, certainly comment below. Also, before we get into it, just a quick plug. I do have a Your First Astrology course going on right now. It's a 6-week course taking you from zero, learning how to just pull up your natal chart, to understanding the signs, the houses, the planets, what they all mean, how to look at a chart and kind of read it, looking at your personal big three, your ascendant, your sun, and your moon, and then how to take these types of forecasts and apply them to your chart on a more personal basis. That we go over all that in about 6 weeks. I have the first 2 videos released. I'm hopefully going to be recording the 3rd video and getting it out this week. If not, then certainly by the end of the year. It is a busy time of year, so it might take me a little bit longer. But that course is going on now, so I just send them out via email. You can either comment on the video or email me back with any questions. I very much want to make this course yours. If you're interested in that, the link is in the description box below. I'm also trying to build a Patreon group where we go over astrology topics of how to read birth charts as well. Just starting out, going over like the elemental breakdown of whether you have a lot of fire or earth or water, taking topics like that and learning about them. And then each person in the Patreon membership would get a 20-minute reading on that topic every month. So it's kind of a getting to know yourself as well as getting to understand and know astrology better monthly membership. And if you're interested in that, the link in the description is in the box below as well. And if you aren't interested in those, or anything like that, but you do appreciate the content I'm putting out here on YouTube, and just want to help support me in that, I would greatly appreciate it. And I do have a link to buy me a coffee in the description box below as well. Now let's get into the individual signs. Okay, first up we have Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. As always, I recommend listening to your rising sign first, then your sun sign, then your moon sign. The rising sign will show the area of life that things are likely to manifest for you in your physical reality. Sun sign is more geared towards like your career and things like that. And moon is more your emotional, how you might be feeling things more emotionally, as well as more indicative of perhaps your home environment. So Capricorn, this is your season. Also, if you would like a solar return reading, in the description box below, I have a coupon for 25% off of a solar return reading during your season. So if you're interested, go ahead and book a session with me. But so this is happening for you in your first house of identity and body and things like that. So over the next month, this is where your energy will be felt, right? Like really working on yourself, perhaps working on your body, like really being in tune with yourself. That'll be your monthly theme. And then kind of, that'll be the theme over this winter season as well, is really taking care of yourself and things like that. And where the square might be felt is, and the tension point is with your third house of your community, your communication, how you use social media, how you're communicating with others, the types of information that you're taking in. And so there could be this tension between the information that you're taking in and this tension between, a lot of this work that you're doing of tearing down and rebuilding is in your third house of community. How do you interact with your community? How do you interact with your neighbors? How do you interact with your siblings? How do you interact with your extended family? So there could be a lot going on in those areas of your life, as well as, like I said, this is how we take information in, how we consume information, as well as how we communicate to others. So that balance between listening, like in your interpersonal communication, like, are you just listening to respond, or are you actually listening because you care about the other person and want to know what they're saying and really be present with them? Is that something you need to work on? And how do you communicate? Is it soft? Is it strong? Is it, where do you need to work on your communication? Those are things that are being asked of you during the cycle, as well as this is short distance travel, can represent automobiles, things like that. So any of those things are what you are working on building down, tearing up. And with Pisces, being here, this could be where you have always struggled with boundaries and things of that nature. So there could be this tension felt between the new you that you're trying to build, the old you that you're trying to let go of, and like holding on tight. Like, I don't know who I am without this, but I know that I need to change these things or let go of these relationships or move to a new community. Maybe where I'm living isn't for my highest and best good, and I need to change communities, things like that. There could be a tension point there, but you hopefully are getting the motivation and the self-compassion to work through these things and to have a plan moving forward come springtime. Okay, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this Capricorn season has you focused in your 12th house of subconscious thoughts, subconscious programming, subconscious patterning, and really wants you to dive into your spiritual world, to retreating from the world and getting the rest that you need to get, and getting in the meditation that you need to get in, and really tapping in and tuning in to learn about those subconscious patterns or any self-sabotaging behavior that you need to let go of, and really, just taking the time to sit with yourself, to meditate, to do those types of things, to make the time for yourself that you need to make so that you can connect more with yourself and understand those things. And there might be a tension here in your second house of, unearthing those subconscious patterns, self-sabotaging behavior that you might have in regards to your second house of finances and self-value and work and, the self-limiting beliefs that you may have that you're just becoming aware of regarding your money and your values and your resources. Are you enough? Are you enough just as you are, or do you think that you have to have certain things, a fancy car or things like that to be seen as enough, or a certain dollar amount in your bank account, or really this is a lot of deep work about your inner value and where you find your inner value, and knowing that you are enough just as you are. And it's a lot of that type of work, because once we know what our value is and things like that, we start to, the finances start to come and things like that. So this is a lot of deep work that might feel a little abrasive or things like that, but it is good work for you to be doing during this winter season and this Capricorn season. Comment below with how you're feeling this. As an Aquarius rising, I definitely am feeling this energy as I'm trying to close out these cycles of self-worth and self-value and money and how I feel about it. Like it's very deep energy to work with, and I am going to heed the advice of this and really take time over this next month especially, but this next winter overall, to really dive in and finish these lessons that I'm being asked to finish. Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this Capricorn season is calling your energy to your 11th house of friends, groups you belong to, organizations you belong to, and just how you put yourself out there into the community. This can be if you have an online presence, this can be that. This can also be 11th house is your hopes and dreams for the future. It can be how you work with technology, things like that. So this, like I said, Capricorn season is bringing your attention to that area of your life. This is where you're going to be wanting to have your focus and putting in the hard work, is looking at your friendships, looking at the groups you belong to, maybe making a plan for this next month or this next season in this area, but also feeling the tension and providing the motivation to really work on yourself, right? Because the square is here with Saturn and Neptune in your first house of self-identity. So this is, how can your friends, you might be feeling some tension between your friendship groups and yourself. Like, are they aligned with who you are becoming? Are there boundaries that you need to have? Are there groups or institutions that you've been a part of that you need to not be a part of anymore? So there can be this friction between the groups and the friendships that you've had with who you are becoming. And it's, this is really a time to look at what groups or friendships you might need to let go of, or the ways that you've been using technology or engaging with people online in the greater worldwide community. If there's anything that needs to change there, that's a lot of what this is going to be. And your true north here is using this energy of the 11th house and building in order to support you because this is where the real work is happening. Okay, Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This Capricorn season is bringing your attention to your 10th house of career and public reputation, giving you the motivation and willpower to put in the hard work to build the foundation there that you need to build in order to support all the changes that are going on for you here in your 12th house of releasing self-sabotaging behavior, recognizing subconscious patterning that is no longer working for you, really diving into your spirituality and making time to get the rest that you need to do, making time to, meditate or connect with your higher self, that you need to connect with. That is where you are really, meant to do this hard work. And the 10th house of your career and reputation is kind of having you do this check and giving you the motivation to do the check on if this is aligned with who you are becoming, and what can you align your work more with who you are now, with your spiritual awareness. Like, is it aligned? What might you need to continue to let go of, but giving you the energy to put in the work where you need to put it. And maybe part of it is aligning, starting new work that is aligned with, maybe building a meditation practice or something like that. Like, it could be something like that, but it is, there is tension there and friction there, but it's providing you the energy to move forward with making the changes that you need to make in those areas. Okay, Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This Capricorn season is having you focus on bringing your awareness to your 9th house of higher education, higher learning, higher knowledge, teaching or finding a teacher or mentor, and belief systems. And so this is where your energy is going to be focused. This is where you're going to be putting in the hard work to build the foundations that you need to build. But they might be in tension with or feeling some friction with your 11th house of friendship groups, groups you belong to, organizations that you belong to, and how you're just overall presenting yourself out in the world. So there might need to be some changes made there. Maybe you need to take a step back from some friendships and stuff like that, so that you can take time to do some learning, or to restructure your belief system, or to find a teacher, things like that. So some of these groups or friendships that you've had, there might be some shifting in boundaries, or realizing whether they've been good for you or not, and some reorganization there because of the work that's going on in your 9th house area. Comment below with how this is resonating for you. Okay, Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This Capricorn season has your energy focused here in your 8th house of transformation, intimacy, shared resources. So those things could be coming up. You could be focusing. It could be just simply that your energy is focused on taxes, shared resources, focused on Christmas, those types of things. Or 8th house is the house of deep transformation. It's the house of going into our dark parts, shadow work, doing shadow work. So this could be where you're really focusing your energy on is whatever transformation processes you need to have to bring yourself more compassion, love, peace, harmony within yourself, as well as working on your intimacy with others, whether that's an emotional level, a sexual level, a financial level, how you're sharing yourself with others. That is where your attention is going to be and where your work is going to be. But that might feel in conflict with your 10th house of career and public reputation, where you've been doing a lot of work on, aligning your career with who the new you is becoming. I said that really weird, but you've been doing a lot of this boundary work and tearing down structures and stuff. Like, there's been a lot of work going on in your 10th house of career, and that might be having an impact. Like, there might be some changes that you're having to make with shared resources and things like that are having an impact on this 10th house of career. But as long as you're keeping, this in mind of what is best for you here in this area, as this is the main big work that we're doing, then there might be the tension felt here, but it is for your highest and best good. Whatever changes, whatever transformation you need to have internally or intimately with others, it is, it might feel tensious, but it's for your highest and best good, for your career and what you're doing moving forward there, and the lessons that you're completing there. Okay, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This is happening for you. This Capricorn season is drawing your attention to your 7th house of partnerships. This can be romantic partnerships, business partnerships, even best friendships, or open enemies. So think ex-spouses, ex-business partners, ex-friendships, like all of those things fall under the 7th house. So this is where your focus and where you're putting in the hard work to do the things that need to be done within your relationship. Whatever changes you need to make there, highlighting the things, having the motivation to really engage with your partnerships and things like that. But there might be some tension here between your partnerships and your perhaps education. If you're in some higher education, 9th house, there could be some friction there. If you are teaching or finding a mentor, there might be some friction between your partnerships and that there, or your overall belief system. Perhaps your belief system is going through changes with the Saturn and Neptune energy that is in conflict with your relationships. But you're willing to put in the hard work here in your relationships in order to figure out how to support your new belief systems, or the higher education, higher belief, or the long distance travel that you're wanting to engage in. There could be friction there, but it ultimately is bringing you to your highest and best and helping serve the transformations that's going on here in your Pisces area of your chart. Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This Capricorn season has you focused on your daily habits, health routines, work routines, things like that. How you engage in your day-to-day from the morning until night. It's having you focus on that. What you nourish your body with, what you nourish your mind with, how you engage with work. What is your work schedule? What is your sleep schedule? All those things fall under 6th house, as well as pets. So that is where you're going to be focused and putting in the hard work to dial this area of your life in, whether that be more related to your health habits, your work habits, etc. You'll know for you what this means, but the work you're doing here may have a little friction with your 8th house of intimacy and transformation, all the work that you've been doing here. So there may be this kind of struggle of, well, how do I make time for this transformational work that I know I'm being called to do? How do I make time for this intimacy that will bring me closer in my relationships? How do I make time to do the shadow work that I need to do? How do I need to restructure and have boundaries around my shared resources, or things like that are coming up, and there might feel like there's some tension there, but it is for your ultimate and highest and best good, and you have the motivation to put in the work to figure out how to organize everything in order to have the time to deal with these 8th house matters, because this is where the major energy is asking you, and the 6th house is trying to figure out how to support it. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising, this is happening for you. This Capricorn energy is having you focused in your 5th house of joy, creativity, romance, children, inner child. So this is where your energy will be focused for the next month and this winter season, on reconnecting with your joy, reconnecting with your inner child, reconnecting with your children, your romantic partners, just being in joy. But that might cause some friction here to all the work that you're also doing in your relationships. So there might be some friction here with figuring out how to live in your joy, but how to also make time for your partnerships, how to show up joyfully, how to fill your own cup before you bring yourself to others. That could be some of this, but it ultimately is working to support this energy that you're working on in your 7th house of how to restructure your relationships in a way that is going to help you move forward into the highest and best version of yourself. Libra, sun, moon, and rising, this Capricorn season is bringing and winter season is bringing your attention to your 4th house of home and family and ancestry, and things like that. So this is where your energy is going to be focused. This is where you're going to be willing to put in the hard work, is around the home, with your family, or just focusing on your own emotional safety as well, is what the 4th house represents. There may be some tension here between your home and its environment and your daily habits and routines. Maybe there's some tension and friction within the home and what types of routines you want. So this is a good time to really look at your home environment and how it can support, because ultimately the hard work that we're doing and that this tension is supposed to be helping us engage with and move forward with is with our 6th house of daily health, habits, routines, work, things like that, how we structure our day, how we nourish our bodies. And this is looking at how your home is supporting that or not, and putting in the work that you need to do here in order to support this overall theme and growth and closing out and building up that we're doing in the 6th house of daily health, habits, and routines and work. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising, this Capricorn season is drawing your attention to your 3rd house of community, neighbors, friends, siblings, extended family, things like that, as well as communication, how you take in information, how you give out information, when on a more personal level, in your interpersonal communication. Are you listening to just respond, or are you listening because you actually are you in the moment and actually engaging with and hearing what the other person has to say? How do you communicate? Is there anything that you need to work on or change there? You're being given the motivation to really work on this area of communicating, of listening, of engaging with your local community. And that's really where you're being asked to focus your energy this Capricorn season and this winter season. And that might be in conflict a little bit with your 5th house of joy and creativity and romance and children and inner child. But whatever foundations, whatever you're building and working on here in the 3rd house should ultimately be serving the goals of the bigger work that you're doing here in the 5th house of tearing down any boundaries or walls, or the tearing down and building up that you're doing within the house of your joy and creativity and romance and children and inner child work and things like that. This work that you're doing in third house should ultimately serve what you're doing in this fifth house of really working with and mastering that area of your life. And there could be tension felt in that, but it is bringing you to your highest and best good. And finally, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This Capricorn season is bringing your attention and awareness to your second house of money, values, resources, things like that. So this is where you are willing to put in the hard work, maybe making budgets that you need to make, maybe just looking at your finances overall, looking at your inner value system and how it might be changing, looking at the resources that you have and how you engage with them. And that might be in friction to the work that you're doing in your home. And ultimately this work that we're putting in, this effort that we're putting in this Capricorn season and this winter season into our finances, into our value system and resources, there might be some challenge, but it is ultimately serving, giving us the motivation to make any changes that we need to make in our home in order to continue the important tearing down and rebuilding that we're doing in this area of our life, because this is where the main energy is focused. And this is providing us that challenge point to make changes that we need to make from this area of our life in order to support our home and family and ancestry and roots and doing the work that we need to do there. So that is it for this winter solstice season. I hope that this video has found you well. Comment below with how you're feeling this energy, how the signs matched up to how you're feeling as well, like the collective as well as the individual signs, how you're feeling that energy, and just any way that you can engage with this video as well. Give me a like, subscribe, comment, share. Any of those things would greatly help my channel grow, and I hope that I see you back here for my next videos. I believe the next videos that I will be releasing are going to be a January look ahead, so keep your eyes out for that, and I will see you soon.